Welcome, everybody. My name is Chloe Ballatori. I am a relationship and communication expert. I'm a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen's Want Institute, and I use the tools of Pat Allen's androgynous semantic realignment. I use tools of transactional analysis, and I also use tools that I've created myself because I've been doing this work over a decade now. I'm going to start by giving you guys just the basics on the scholarship that this work is based on. That's very established. What's new about this work are the tools to execute on that scholarship. And what we really try to do in this group and with my private sessions and the modules I teach, I really try to marry that theory with things that are actually happening in your life so that it's not some abstract exploration. So I'm going to just do a brief introduction of these tools, this work. If you don't understand everything, if this is your first time, don't get stressed. It takes repetition. Um, that will be about the first 10 minutes. And then from there, I'm going to focus on taking your questions. And that's going to be the rest of the time. And I'm a love and relationship expert, but I also field questions really about work situations, communication, relationship with yourself, friend situations, family situations, because the basis of these tools are is true and the principles are accurate. And so that affects all of life, not simply dating and relationships. Um, and you guys, when you do have your questions, you can raise your hand. You can put your question in the chat. You can also get Raul's attention. He's co-hosting tonight. So if I'm ignoring you for whatever reason, you can also reach out to him. Okay. So what is androgynous semantic realignment? What's transactional analysis? How does this help me get a boyfriend or stay in my marriage? Okay. When we talk about relationships and specifically successful relationships, what we're talking about is balance and the compatibility of feminine or yin energy and masculine or yang energy. Okay. And this is true whether or not you're in a straight relationship or a gay relationship, because this work is all about energy. You don't have to be a woman to inhabit yin energy. You don't have to be a man to inhabit yang energy. Oftentimes, that is how it works out. But at least 15 to 25% of the time, it doesn't work that way. So I have no problem. I have many clients who are in couples that where there's a more feminine man and a more masculine woman. And that works because the energy is balanced. Okay. Um, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what feminine and masculine is, but all of us are both. All of us have a right brain that is more yin energy. This is the energy of feelings, of receiving, passive, patient, vulnerable, the world of sensuality, sexuality, creativity, magic. Feminine energy is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. And then all of us have a more masculine side, which is the yang energies, the left brain. And this is the world of thoughts and ideas, of single mindedness, of competing, conquering, controlling, of giving, taking care of. Most of us are in our masculine when we're at work, for example. And we live in a very masculinized society where achieving and doing and making money are often seen as the ultimate goals for both men and women. Okay. But one of the things I do help people with a lot is women who are very high achieving. I help them understand their feminine side and nurture their feminine side if that's the energy they want to inhabit in their relationships. Um, Look, all of us want both. All of us want to have our feelings cherished. All of us want to have our thoughts respected. But it's important to understand which you want more in awkward situations like first dates and in conflicts so that you don't have a power struggle. Okay. And there can be a power struggle for masculine energy, which is the control of the relationship. And there can be a power struggle for feminine energy, which is the competition for sympathy. Okay. Or tears. So either way, you can have a power struggle. What I teach is negotiating with love, which means one person in the relationship gets their thoughts respected and one person gets their feelings cherished. And m- perhaps if you guys are both very well balanced, and the definition of an alpha is somebody who has a very strong masculine side and a very strong feminine side. It's not just a bully who's a masculine energy person. But if you are an alpha, then this work really will help you so that you know which side to come in with. Occasionally, I work with couples who are very evenly balanced. And so my rule for them is if he starts with a thought, then you respond with a feeling. If you start with a thought, then he responds with a feeling. Okay. And again, you don't have to be doing this stuff all the time, but in conflicts and in awkward situations, it really does help. And understanding these dynamics will give you a distinct advantage. Okay. So moving on. Some of the problems that we see in relationships are usually the result of childhood trauma because the things that happen between the ages of 0 to 12 affect us in powerful ways because they occur during critical developmental windows. And when we're little children, we often have to sacrifice our authenticity in order to attach to the people who take care of us, the people who own the refrigerator. And through that experience, we form what we think are existential truths based on the coping strategies we've developed in the moment. But actually, these are just temporary strategies that, when we take into our adult lives, unfortunately end up sabotaging our most intimate relationships first. Now, they can sabotage work relationships, they can sabotage the relationship you have with yourself. Childhood trauma, because again of the time that it occurs. And if it's a trauma with a big T or a small t, it doesn't really matter in this context, but it's anything that happens that separates you from your innocence, right? So most of us have had that experience. And these events often throw us out of balance and cause us to become what is known as ego dystonic, which simply means we're leading with our masculine side when we're better served to be leading with our feminine side, and we're leading with our feminine side when we're better served to lead with our masculine side. And in some of your questions tonight, this term might come up. So, um, that's basically what it means, but it's easier to see in the context of an example. Peter Pan and Wendy is a really good um, example of this dynamic because Peter Pan is the unrealized man. He's the puer aeternus. Never takes responsibility, never grows up, never really fully becomes a man, still remains a child. And so, in that sense, is really leading with a more feminine side. Whereas Wendy is the over mature woman, right? She takes on responsibility too early. She's forced to take care of everyone while she's still a child. So this brings out her masculine side. And this causes Wendy to become ego dystonic in the masculine. Often, as Wendy and Peter Pan grow up in real life or age, right? Because it doesn't, just because you age doesn't mean you mature. Um, they find each other, Okay, so this is another paradigm that I help people with. A lot of women find themselves with men and they've fallen into a mothering role. And so I help women kind of get out of that stereotype of being that nagging mother because, ultimately men don't want to have sex with their mothers. And that tends to kill the chemistry. So these are just a couple of the paradigms that we see when we're looking at the effects of childhood trauma, in specifically in our most intimate relationships. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up for questions. And again, you guys can really ask about anything. I also love hearing your updates. Um, if you've been using this work, how it's going, what we can tweak, what we can understand. Because I know when I say things like respecting your thoughts and cherishing your feelings, that doesn't necessarily conjure up a specific example. Okay. Sophia.
Hey,
Hi, Sophia. How are you? How can I help you?
I'm doing good, and I was just coming to share some updates and also get some advice on a particular issue.
Great.
Yeah. Um, I was trying to implement the five flirts in a coffee shop, and it went well. This was totally unplanned, but like I
Yeah.
dropped um my kid dropped his bottle and it flew across the room and some guy picked it up and I
Cute.
stared at him. But oh, the mood got killed because the kid threw up on the floor. And yeah. So I had to leave. But that was like a near miss for me. So online dating has been a whole doozy. I unmatched everybody and just wiped my whole profile and started over.
Okay.
Because I just had this pattern where like guys would just be on there for attention, or like they just talk about themselves, or they say they just want to be friends or stuff like that. And there was this one really clingy guy that that's why I use the Google phone number because you never know.
Right. And it's
Uh,
so weird. It's like that's always presented. Online dating's always presented as a time saver. And
no.
we've talked about it before in really like remote areas, it has its usefulness, but for the most part, it becomes a time suck because you have to
Yeah.
spend all this time online and you still haven't actually laid eyes on the person. And we all know that until you lay eyes on a person, you really don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I've
go
been
ahead.
having oh
No, go ahead.
oh yeah. But I've been having this obstacle lately when I get serious with someone. I've never gotten serious with someone on these dating apps, but when it seems like things are about to get real, um, I kind of freak out because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like inferior because like I made a huge mistake by buying this house that I did. And I don't want somebody to be like, oh yeah, you have like a ton of debt. And then like I unmatch or I ghost them.
Okay, so first of all, like a masculine man doesn't really care about your debt. Okay, so
Yeah.
don't worry so much about that. The other thing is it sounds like you're getting a little like too carried away, like just from the matching in the sense of, and this is normal. I mean, especially for
Yeah.
women. We tend to overcommit all the time. Just because you match doesn't mean you guys are going to be like getting married. He's going to be coming over, going to be assessing your debt. You know what I mean? Like it's just matched. It just means that maybe you guys will go out to coffee. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
slow down a little bit. It's not like you're going to be facing the judge and jury on this one date. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just have problems, I guess. Like, I know I don't really take any of these guys seriously until they should give me a reason. But, like, if my worry is, like, if I go out with them and, like, I'm kind of hiding this secret for a while, like, I just can't, like, I can't really truly, like, be myself because I'm afraid. Well, I guess since you said like masculine men don't care, but I feel kind of crazy. Like I just have a hard time overcoming that because I spent half the value of the house in repairs alone. And it's going to take me like 10 years to break even, and it was the worst financial decision of my life. And I'm afraid that if he discovered that, then he'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a big red flag. I'm done."
No, hard disagree. I don't, a masculine man, I mean, men need to do good to feel good. So if anything, that makes you vulnerable. He can help you. He can help rescue you. I definitely wouldn't see it as a negative.
Oh, that's good.
It's really funny. I had a client a few years back who she had declared bankruptcy and she was getting married to this guy and she hadn't told him that she had a bankruptcy in her past. And just like
Oh.
you're saying, but she was like really far down the road. They were, engaged and she hadn't told him. And so just like you're saying, she was freaking out. She was like, is he gonna want to marry me? Is he gonna want to marry me? And I was telling her, just bring it up and tell him. By the time she told him, she was crying and she had like really worked herself up into a state about it. And I mean, he totally cherished her feelings, but he was laughing because he was like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't care you have a bankruptcy. Why would I care about that? It's just if if a man is asking you like what money you're bringing to the table and asking you a lot about your career, then that's a sign that he wants you to play more of a masculine role. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it is a sign that he wants you to be contributing. He doesn't want all that weight and responsibility on himself. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily something to hide or be ashamed of. You did what you did. I think it more sounds like it's something you need to kind of forgive yourself for. You did what you did. You're really young. You bought a house. It's pretty impressive. It sounds like you're making the best of it. I mean, you haven't really asked any questions about like, oh, I need to get out of my house. How do I do that? I mean, I assume that you would that you're handling it. So I just
Yeah,
people make mistakes. That's how you learn.
yeah, that's true. I remember that gardener guy. He freaked out when I said I wanted to sell the house and stuff. Like he was supportive at first, and then like when he ghosted me after that, it kind of made me insecure.
Oh,
But,
about that? Who
uh,
knows though? He could have ghosted you for any number of reasons. Maybe his ex-girlfriend came back in his life.
hmm. Yeah, but that's good to hear that it might not be as big of a deal as I think.
Right. Okay, good.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I see this question, Wendy. Is that not reasonable for a man to think about a woman's finances? It's not a matter of like judging it, whether it's reasonable or unreasonable. Um, but it's just shows you where somebody's head is at. So, it's good to take note. If you're looking for are you there, Wendy?
Yeah,
Okay. Does that make it clear? I mean, if you're looking for someone who you like for if you want to stay home and you want to be taken care of and he's asking about what you're bringing to the table, well, you guys might not be compatible. That's all.
yeah. Yeah, actually, I have my hand raised for other, questions, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
someone's before me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay. Victoria.
Just unmuted myself.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Um,
good, thank you. How can I help you?
but thank you for all the good advice. This is my second time. Yeah, I recently broke up. I've had already like three relationships with guys this year.
Hmm.
They're each exclusive. We established like boyfriend, girlfriend. But the problem is that they just last 3 or 4 months and then I break up with them. The great chemistry and intimacy and all of that. But what I find, and yeah, usually what I find is that they either, say they're too busy and it just doesn't feel like a real partnership. And I
Mhm.
also communicate that with them, saying that's my concern. Like, I feel like I want to get close to you. I feel as though this is not the kind of partnership that, is heading in that direction. I'm trying to maybe foster a better relationship with you somehow. But it doesn't improve. And then I leave myself with breaking off with them. I don't know if I give them a chance. Maybe that's
Right.
a little bit too premature.
Well, okay.
Um,
Let me
so
just stop you for a second. So, if it's pretty common, there's different periods in relationships that have been studied. So the first 3 to 4 months, that's the perfect period. So I do have many clients who are just like you, who get into relationships for 3 or 4 months and then get out, because after 3 to 4 months is the imperfect period for the next 3 months. Like, so let's say 3 to 6 months. And that's when you start seeing your partner's flaws, right? In the very beginning, is the best part. You're like falling in love, he can do no wrong, everything's great, right? Then you start seeing, oh, well, his fart smell, he's kind of rude to the waiter, so that's what happens in the second 3 months. I'm not saying, um, you know, whether or not now after the imperfect period, after 6 months, 9 months to a year, that's when you're seeing if you can negotiate a relationship. So probably 6 to 9 months, you're seeing if you can negotiate a relationship. So the fact that your relationships are foundering at the 3 to 4 month mark just means that that's the end of the perfect period for you. Now, whether that is because you don't have the tools to negotiate with some of these guys, or whether these guys are incompatible with you, I don't really know because you're brand new, right?
right.
But some of the things that you mentioned, the way that you're approaching the things that you want in the relationship, it does sound to me that maybe could be phrased or communicated in a more respectful manner. In your relationships, do you want your feelings cherished or your thoughts respected? Everybody wants both, but which do you want more?
It's, yeah, the feelings
The
part.
feelings
Yeah.
cherished. Okay.
Mhm.
So that means, especially when you're in a conflict, you have something to bring up to your significant other, you need to show him respect. That means that if you have criticisms, if you want to teach, preach, bitch, moan, complain, question, or criticize, you need to make an appointment with him. So you don't just barrel in with your criticism at any old time. That's disrespectful. So if we were say let's say we were right now at the 3 to 4 month mark with a guy that you weren't sure if you were going to give the push. Um, and the issue was the way you guys were spending the holidays. Or do you want to tell me an issue that you've had and we can troubleshoot it?
Um, yeah, I guess I don't really ask for help, but there was one particular, it was like towards the 3 to 4, like very close to it.
Mhm.
And he was just getting busy and it just I asked for just a little bit of help, and like and he
What
said
kind of
he
help?
um I needed a ride to my parents' house because I
Okay.
was picking something out.
You needed a
And
okay.
yeah, a little bit of a distance. I mean, not too bad, but and I felt bad about it. He's like, you don't usually ask for help from me. And I go, um, and so he's like, it's okay. And then he got sick or something, but he never said like, hey, I can't make it, or he never like communicated it. So I
Mhm.
just kind of left hanging and I didn't hear from him and things like that. So I ended up finding, a good friend of mine to do it. And my friend was like, well, what happened to him? I go, I don't know.
Right.
So it's usually I'm like either waiting around or I don't get much communication. Maybe I'm not very direct because I'm kind of soft, and I don't want to rock the boat with
Well,
people.
if you want to be in your feminine energy, asking for help is a very important part of that. You have to be receiving. You can't be so strong that you don't need help. So if he was reticent to help you, then maybe he's not that comfortable being in the masculine energy. I also don't like that he made a commitment and didn't keep it and didn't say anything about that, because it's a very big deal that people's words and deeds line up. And really the way that you know someone cares about you is their willingness to make and keep commitments. So those two things are red flags. Or yellow flags. Um, that's what I would say about that. I mean, what I was going to say is if there was now, if let's say you stuck with him, you would have to then make an appointment to discuss that, Hey, I wanted to talk to you, John, or whatever his name was, about something. It's kind of going to be an awkward situation. It's about the ride that I asked you to give me to my parents' house. Is now a convenient time, or if not now, when? Hopefully today. And then he gives you his consent. He says, "Okay, I'm willing to hear." Okay. If I did have a client, this guy kept saying, "No, maybe next week." And I mean, that was obviously a really bad sign because he never wanted to hear it. Um, but then when you meet up with him and to talk about it, you would start with, this is a rubric that I call the stroke and stand that I learned from my mentor, Pat Allen. And it's also in my first book. And it's, this tool really illustrates a lot of the dynamics of this work. Um, and by the way, you guys, I'm teaching this work in a small module group starting in September. So if you want to sign up for that, please do, because we're going to be able to go deeper with the theory, and it's private and it's a smaller group. But okay, anyways, one of the tools we'll really get into is the stroke and stand. And so basically what happens when you meet with the person, you say, thank you for, sitting down with me. I've really, and give them a stroke. Ideally, that is from your feelings to his thoughts. So I felt really happy when you said you could give me a ride, something like that. Or you've always been so helpful, or I love whatever it is. I love spending time with you, whatever this, try to be more specific, but give him a little compliment. Then you're going to move into, however, I felt an I statement with a feeling. I felt sad. Not I felt like you were a dick, because that's a thought. So it would be more like, I felt sad that you never showed up or you never told me what happened. And then you give him a chance to say something. If he doesn't, say, what do you think? Can you tell me what your thoughts were? Inquire about his thoughts. Men love to hear, what do you think? What are you thinking? What do you think about this? Okay. Um, then he would say yes or no, "Oh, well, I thought you knew I got sick," or, um, "I didn't really wanna help you," or, see what he says, you know? Um, and then you don't like keep going back and forth. You say, okay, well, that made me feel bad, or oh, now I understand. I guess I didn't get that message, or whatever it was. You clear the communication, and don't go back and forth more than once or twice. This is not about you trying to change him. If there's something that you want to say, you can say, okay, well, just next time, can you I'll feel better. I feel better if you let me know. Do you think you can do that? Just 24 hours in advance. He'll say yes or he'll say no. No, you're being unreasonable. Don't then get an argument about it. Just take that information and know he's not going to do that for you. That's information that you need to know. It's never about changing the other person. It's about clearing the communication so that they understand where you're coming from and you understand where they're coming from. And then you can make your decision to take it or leave it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Who's next here? Adil.
Hi, can you hear me, Chloe?
Barely.
Oh dear.
Okay.
I'm
Now it's a little better now. How can I help
okay.
you?
Hi, thanks for allowing me to ask a question. I really appreciate what you're doing. I've attended a couple of these calls, and so recently I began trying speed dating. Um, I was just not having any luck um, meeting somebody that I'm attracted to and interested in, and able to spark a conversation with. So I tried speed dating a few times. Didn't match with anyone in
Yeah, it's
particular.
not for everyone. It's kind of a high pressure situation. I mean, I think meeting someone new is hard enough, but then you add the speed dating aspect to it. Some people thrive under pressure like that, but some people don't.
Yeah, I think, looking back on my experience, and that's actually what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, I enjoy the fact that it's an opportunity to meet, um, women, in a quick amount of time. Like you can meet like a lot of women
Hmm.
and get to know them. But I don't like the fact that it's so short. It does feel very high pressure. And actually, funny story, in my first time doing this, the first round I overstayed my time and missed the second round. And when I walked into the second round, the person I was talking to was so angry with me that it was just it was a disaster. I couldn't even save like the conversation.
It was a
And
lost cause.
yeah. But one of the things that I was a little concerned with coming out of the experience is that, and I don't know, maybe this is generally applicable to other social situations, is like I feel like when I look back on some of the situations, it's like, it's like Malcolm Gladwell's Blink. Like I mean, attraction is just like in the blink of an eye. Like
Hmm.
somebody is or
Yes,
is.
especially for men. Men usually know like first 8 seconds.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess yeah, for men it might be a little more. We might be a
Yeah.
little rigid about it, but even I think the same applies with some women.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't want to judge that, but I think the issue I have is like um, a lot of times I feel like I'm being interviewed, and it feels like information is being extracted out of me, whereas I'm dead on arrival. If I'm dead on arrival, I don't want to have to divulge all this personal information like
Right.
with you. Like if it's just not going to be, then let's just have a pleasant, cordial, amiable. And I've had those kinds of conversations with some of the women. It's like I could tell they're not interested and I'm not interested, and we're just really friendly with each other. We're really pleasant, and we make light of the entire moment.
Right.
But then there are other situations where it's like total information extraction. It makes me come out of it feeling, especially when I'm interested in matching with that person, and then I find out
Yeah.
I did not match, and then I just feel like, oh man, like I got the wrong end of the deal here. Like I basically told you a little more than I should have, a lot more than I should have. I mean, there's things I probably would share over days, over getting to know you. And I guess
Are you
that's,
talking about in person this happens or in on the dating app?
oh no, this is in person.
In person. Okay.
Yeah, this is speed
So,
dating.
okay,
This
so
is
let me
like
stop
face
you
to
for a
face.
moment.
Mhm.
Um, which do you want? Do you want your feelings cherished or your thoughts respected? Which is more important to you in your intimate relationship? Are you there?
I'm sorry, I muted myself.
Oh,
I
no
apologize.
worries. Okay.
Yeah, thoughts, definitely
Thoughts
thoughts.
respected. Okay. So, and I work with women on this a lot. The date is not a job interview. And a lot of women think that they got to get in there and ask a bunch of questions and prove themselves. And that's actually very masculine. So, part of your job in the masculine energy on the date is you take control. right? I know that can be hard if you have to fight for control with another woman, with the woman, right? Um, and
Yeah.
so, sometimes that may not be a match, then you're not compatible. Look, you're talking about chemistry, but you guys also need compatibility and you also need communication. As you pointed out, there's not much you can do about chemistry. You have it or you don't, right? That's a gift from God. Compatibility means, do you want the same things? And then also, which leads into communication, is one of you more feminine and is one of you more masculine? Can one of you cook? Can one of you pay the bills? Again, it works best when you have complementary skills. So if you're going into a date and you have to fight for control of the relationship or of the conversation, then that might not be a good bellwether for the actual relationship. You know what I'm saying? You can see in those situations, now that you know, oh, I'm in the masculine, how to turn it around. If she tells you her thoughts, ask about her feelings. you know Try to do things that are cherishing for her. Opening the door, that's why opening the door, pulling out the chair, these are things that make a woman feel good. If she says she feels cold, give her your sweater, whatever. Things like that. um you know do you want a coffee? Which one do you like more? Again, what do you do to enjoy yourself? Like, you can start steering the conversation a little bit more towards her feminine side, right? To see if, because sometimes it just takes like a little nudge and then you guys can get into balance, right? Because nobody learns this stuff at school. And like I said at the beginning, we live in a really masculinized world. A lot of us women have learned that we need to just be able to make it on our own, and we have to be strong, and we have to take control, and we have to do all this stuff. And we're getting really exhausted doing it, even though women are really capable. And so something that you can do on these dates is let the woman know you got this, that they can sit back and receive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That's
You're
puts things
welcome.
in perspective.
You're welcome. This is a really good question. Okay, who is next? Wendy, I'm coming back to you.
Can you hear me from here?
Yes.
Okay. So, want to give you a quick update and then ask a question. So, yeah, so I got stood up, I think. I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, the guy may have been in an accident, right? But
He didn't show up. You made a
yeah,
plan with a guy and he didn't show up?
yeah.
Okay,
And I feel fine about it, really. I just don't
good.
have that thing anymore of feeling like it's personal. In fact, I'm really intrigued because this is kind of like a third time sort of thing. Not not full on not showing up. That's the first time we ever were gonna
Okay.
maybe meet, but he's I've talked about him before. But anyway, so that's really cool. That I mean, I still feel really feminine. It's
Yeah,
been
and you didn't get triggered. You've
no,
desensitized to that trigger to a certain degree, which is great.
yeah, yeah,
Because, we talked about this before in here. It's like it does that intimate relationships is where we're first going to get triggered. This is like the where our childhood trauma shows up primarily. And so that's why it feels like there's so much on the line when a stranger stands us up or isn't interested or whatever it is, and it's logically not accurate. And so that's such a big success for you. I just want to reflect that back to you because
yeah. Thanks, thanks. It felt a little awkward not calling to make sure he was okay, but I realized, we're in our 50s. Like he should have people that should be checking on him, not getting
exactly.
stood
I
all
love that. Good. I'm so
day.
glad you didn't mother hen him. Okay, good.
So that part's good. And I have been meeting some good people, but I'm most of the time I'm really, you know, lonely and not meeting people that I want to. I mean, they're kind of closer. Like I've met some guys that are more mindful. The one guy in meditation, but there were two guys who were like meditators, but they were not, willing to deal with my medical condition, which is fine, right?
Right.
I don't really feel bad about that either. But I don't know if you can really help with this, but I just feel like I don't know where to meet people. And I'm not, like, I go to the coffee shops and I just feel like I don't ever see someone about my age that might be interesting. Um, and
Um,
meditators in general are not social environments. Like if you go to meditation, everyone just goes home afterward. And
right, right, right. But there's some like meditation adjacent events you could do. Like I know there's an event that some of my clients do in LA. It's an ecstatic dance event. Anything with dancing or singing is a really good idea because you get out there, you get to move your body. There's some kind of like, sexuality to dancing. Um, it's a good way to test chemistry with somebody else. It's also if you go out singing, there's those, Lee, who often comes to this group. He always meets people at karaoke, right? Because you get to go up there, you can have a duet, people comment, oh, you want to sing this together? What do you think I should sing? So I always think singing and dancing are really good ways to meet people. And then the other
those
ways,
aren't really, I'm not, I'm still protecting from COVID with my condition. So it's hard
okay.
to meet people with a mask or indoors. I'm usually meeting people, well, I'm not meeting people except on the app.
Okay. So what about like something that's at an outside event, like an outdoor concert or a hike from Sierra Club or, even just like a nature walk, because I know maybe the hike would be too much, but like a nature walk. Um One of the things, I don't know if you were here, one of the things that some of my clients are doing is chess club. There's a lot of guys over there at chess club. um there's usually stuff happening. It doesn't mean that there won't be some lonely moments. It doesn't mean that every time you go out you're going to meet somebody, but it's important for you to be doing enough things to show that you're interested in meeting somebody, you know just to be putting your energy into that direction. um So, I know you're tired and I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it's worth it, but following your own other interests, which you do have, you're like really smart, you have a lot of interests, trying those and then also not beating up, it's okay to be lonely, but just don't judge yourself, right? There's only so much you can do after all.
Yeah.
It really is up to God when you're going to meet someone, if you're going to meet someone here or there or wherever. Um, and so all you can do is, keep putting it out there, keep, putting your best foot forward and then not judging yourself. You know, Life is full of lonely moments. If we don't have lonely moments, we can't experience connection. And I think sometimes we fool ourselves that we're going to get to a place in our lives where, oh, we're not going to have any negative feelings anymore. And that's simply not true. As long as we're on earth, we are living in this duality, right? Feminine, masculine, pain, pleasure. Everything here is based on duality. That's the symbol of the yin yang. So, it's just simply not possible. So as much as you can like not get on yourself, like, God, I'm such a loser, I'm never gonna meet anyone, try not to engage in that self-talk. Just, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't meet anyone. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna take a bath or, you know, do something nice, have some ice cream or do something nice for myself, whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Who is next? I think Rose. Hi, Rose.
Yes, thank you so much to take my question. So a lot of times I hear others' question and I have follow up. For example, I've heard that someone said those two guys she dated and telling her they're busy. So I have some guys also tell me they're busy after a while meeting them. Does that mean they're not interesting anymore?
Probably.
Okay. And if when we have conversation and I told them our expectation, what I want, and they're quiet, does that mean they can't meet my expectation?
Well, sometimes you have to solicit their thoughts. So are you saying, what do you think about that? Or can you do that? Or what are your thoughts? Or do you agree, or what your beliefs are, you sometimes you got to ask that. It's not enough to just make your statement. I know it's a struggle sometimes to even make that one statement, but
Mm,
you have to remember at the end of your statement to ask about his thoughts. And
okay.
conversely, if it were a man, to ask about, you make your statement of thoughts, but then you need to ask about the woman's feelings. How do you feel about that?
Mm.
Don't
I
ask the
thought
man
if
how he feels. Ask the man what he thinks.
oh, what they think.
Yes.
Okay.
Please do not inquire about the man's feelings.
Oh, that when you say feeling, that's another thing I hear you told. I think told Wendy or someone said you don't need to mother them. So
Right.
what if he told you he's sick? He's really sick. What do you say then?
Okay, well, that's an exception. If he's puking or bleeding, then you can ask about his feelings. But
He did tell
then
me
we
he
had
feels
I had
sick.
what? Sorry?
He did tell me he's sick.
He's sick. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then you could mother him a little bit. Then you could go to him. You could say, "Oh, do you need anything? Can I bring you some soup?" Then you can do your mother hen thing. But only if
Oh,
he's sick. Now, I have had to now make an exception to that because I had a client who was dating a guy, and it literally turned out that he was puking every day.
ooh,
So it was like, I can't be doing your feelings every day. You know what I mean? So some people
mm.
have problems, and then if it's too much, then you do need to, if it's daily, then you do need to, maybe re-examine it. But yeah, if he's
But
sick,
if occasionally they get sick, for example, you in COVID-19, they got it.
yes, yes, of course, you can help
Okay.
with that. And look, it's not that you can never take care of a man's feelings, but it requires an appointment. So if he's not feeling good about something, just like if you're and so if he's disrespected and he wants to talk to you about his feelings, or he's upset, he wants to talk to you about his feelings, then he needs to make an appointment. That's all it is. Just like you need to take an appointment to tell him about your thoughts and feelings. If it's a criticism, obviously if it's something positive, you don't need to make appointments. But if it's something negative, it really does help to make appointments, because that prevents you from just fighting all the time. It's
But
really
it's
easy.
weird when I show my carers, oh, how are you doing? I hope you get better. I'm sorry for you. Then he's quiet. So I'm not sure.
Well, maybe he's not really sick, or maybe he feels emasculated by your care. So maybe you can
He
just
is
say,
sick. He did get COVID-19.
okay,
He
so
showed me
just
the
say,
test
let me
result.
know, maybe he's just sick. Just say, you don't have to check in all the time. Just say, let me know if there's anything I can do. And then you're
Okay.
done. It's let him ask to have his feelings cherished. Let him tell you that. Don't you run in with that. You run in with the respect.
He did tell me he's sick. I just don't know
Okay.
if
So then
he's
just
sick,
say,
then what should I do?
ask him if he needs anything.
Okay.
Is there anything I can do to help you feel better?
Okay. All right. Next question is, I think it was Wendy last time mentioned something. There's a maximum time before men can wait.
Oh, for
Um,
sex.
uh,
Yeah, for
is
intercourse.
it for sex? Okay.
For
And
intercourse, you ask.
how much time can they wait?
Well, it's not that there's like a certain amount of time. I usually advise women, especially. Now, you can do whatever you want, go have casual sex, whatever you want to do, but women tend to bond when they have intercourse, anal, oral, or vaginal. So if you want to mitigate your vulnerability, you try to get a commitment before you have intercourse. That's all. If you get the commitment the first night, then you can go for it, you
What
know?
kind of commitment are we looking for? Because there's no way people can really commit. Oh, still have a lot of chance possible breakup in the future unless in a
Of course.
marriage.
But
So,
what you're committing to is exclusivity, both
oh,
social and
okay.
sexual. So it's not just sexual exclusivity. You also need them to say they're going to get off the apps, right?
Mm.
So you look for the exclusivity, you look for consistency, well, we're going to see each other 3 times a week, we're going to see each other 2 times a month, whatever it is. And then you look for longevity. Are you guys headed towards a long-term relationship? Is that what you both want? Are you headed towards marriage? Is that what you both want? So those are the 3 like key things you're looking for in that moment.
So
And then once you're
exclusivity, longevity, and what's the other one?
consistency.
Oh, consistency. Okay. Okay.
Okay. I know you have more questions.
One more, only one more. Is that okay?
Because
Should be
other
quick.
people have their hands up. This-
Okay, one question. I'm just curious. I have read something, maybe superstitious, but I'm not sure, and I have that feeling. So I just want to verify with you. Is it
Mhm.
possible when one person was thinking the other person may feel it? Is that possible?
It is possible, yes.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Huh. Even
Yes.
though they're not together?
Yeah, because this is all about energy. Relationships are all about energy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
questions. I
Okay.
appreciate your sharing. And again, you guys, this
Chloe,
group, yeah,
I wanted you to know that Andrew put a question in the chat and he also has his hand up.
and he also has his hand up. Okay, I'll get to him. Oh, I didn't see this. Okay, thank you, Raul. I just wanted to reiterate, you guys, we're here Thursday nights. This is our group that we've been building on Meetup for the last 2.5 years. But I also do private sessions. I see men, I see women, I see couples, I see teenagers, and I occasionally teach this work out of the 4 books that I've written. I've broken that up into 3 modules. And so the first module is the first book, How to Live, Find Love, and Keep It. Um, that's the module packages link on my credentials. You can also get it through my website. But if you're interested in that, I'm going to be doing that in September. And there's still space in that. It's a 4 to 6 people private group on Zoom. And we really go through the book and the theories and try to marry those things again with your experiences. So that's open to you as well if this group is not enough. Okay. Andrew Sundberg, let me see your question here. You ever hear of love bombing? I'm newly single and apparently too loving, and women I'm dating is thinking I'm going to love and leave her. No guarantees, but I have no plans at this time. Have faith in me. I feel like I'm always having to overcome the junk bad guys cause. Okay. Hi, Andrew.
Hello.
Hey, okay. So this is a really good question. I'm really glad you asked this question. Um, for a lot of women, it's true, who haven't been treated well, when we get a guy who's genuine like you, it is hard to believe at the beginning. And so sometimes you might find the woman saying, is this real? Are you for real? And all that.
Mhm.
And all you can do is just be that steady presence and
Okay.
prove over time that it's not a love bomb. Because you really only know if you love someone and if they love you over time by the commitments they're willing to make and keep to you. So, my advice to you is just stay steady. I work with a lot of women who are on the other side of this, who are telling me what you're going through, where they're saying, he's saying all this stuff and I don't know if I should believe him. And if your actions are lining up with your deeds, I mean, your actions are lining up with your words and deeds lining up, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. And you will prove your case. You don't necessarily have to say a lot of things verbally, just be that consistent. Make sure if you say you're going to take her out, or if you're going to call or whatever it is, that you do so. Or if you can't, you check in and say why, even if it has to be after the fact. That's the most important thing, is those words and deeds lining up. So, that's just something that you'll have to prove over time. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Joni, last 5 minutes. Are you there? Maybe you thought we wouldn't get to you. Do.
I got it. I got it.
Okay, you
I got
got
it.
it. You got it. You got
Good God
it.
Almighty! I hate Zoom on the phone. Ah, I kept trying to unmute. Hi, Chloe. So this is kind of cool because my question has come up, sort of. We've danced around my question a little bit with the previous callers,
Oh, good.
and so yeah. So I'm calling because I'm seeing someone.
Yeah.
I know it's going really well. But here comes the but, okay?
Okay.
Okay, we're very new. We've known each other 3 weeks. We've gone out on 3 dates, okay? But we've had some like day dates and like long dates, right? So at any rate, but it's going well. But so like I made the decision that I don't want to have sex right away.
Okay. Are you guys
And
committed yet or not?
yes,
You are.
yes, we're
Okay. Okay.
exclusive. We're
Okay.
exclusive. We shut down the apps, all of
Good.
that.
Okay. But you don't
Yeah.
want, okay, so technically, I'm assuming you mean intercourse, because technically sex can be eye contact and petting and making out, but you mean intercourse, is that right?
I mean intercourse, yes,
Okay.
because we've been doing all the other stuff.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah. So yeah, and I've conveyed that to him, right? And and he said he respects that, and he appreciates that I'm not just like rushing into, not that I'm not rushing into it, but he appreciates that I'm not just sleeping with guys like right away.
Yeah, because then they know,
And
right, you're doing that with everyone.
right. And so, but I'm really like I've had too many of those very brief relationships that I do sleep with them too soon, sort of. And then 3-4 weeks later, maybe 2 months later, one of the two of us kind of decides, what, we're not a match. And so this guy, he's very cool with it. For the most part, he's very cool with it. It's just that when we start making out or whatever, and then we both kind of start getting riled up, and then I'm like,
Right.
okay, we gotta like time out here, but I don't know how to have this really happen without hurting his feelings, or I don't know. I don't really know. Like, that's why
Okay.
I'm just
So,
like, ugh.
okay. So first of all, one of the things that happens when you guys do start having intercourse is that becomes the focal point of the relationship. So in a way, you stop getting to know each other, right?
Mm,
So that's why
mhm.
you don't want to rush into things too much. Wait, how long have you guys been together?
Just 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, so you're still in
Hmm.
a pretty early phase.
Oh yeah.
Um, don't worry about hurting his feelings. You know, the focus is on cherishing your feelings, but you just need to say, in those moments when you're saying no, just say, I'm really flattered. I'm really turned on to. I just know that, once we do have intercourse, I'm going to feel really vulnerable. So I just need a little more time. Is that okay? Do you think you can do that?
I kind of pretty much said all those things.
Okay, good.
I have, and like I said, he's very respectful, right? But then at the same time, he really wants it, and he's like, damn, girl, I am so turned on. I know we're waiting, but and I think he's being genuine,
Yeah,
and
no, it's hard for guys. And you're right, they do take it as something of a rejection. So is there something that you're waiting for or you're looking for? Can you tell them when you will be open to having intercourse? Do you know why you're waiting longer?
I'm waiting longer because of the vulnerability, and that's how I explained it,
Okay.
like I get more vulnerable, and I just want to be more careful because there's been other times where I thought, oh no, this guy's like perfect for me, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I want the whole enchilada,
Okay.
and
Right. So,
and then
okay.
it fizzles out, and then it's
Right.
like, it leaves me feeling like crap. Like not
So,
just the heartbreak of it, but then I feel like, I gave him my body, and my heart and
right.
soul in that way.
Of course. And you're bonded. And that's the thing that happens when we often, not all the time, but most of the time when women have intercourse, we bond because the oxytocin that goes off in your brain. And even we can be bonded to people we know aren't right for us. And then that takes a long time to detox from it. So, I don't know, maybe it will be helpful for you to set in your head. Maybe you think, 3 months or 2 months, or you'll know it when you feel it. Um, and you'll obviously see what he's willing to put up with. But it is hard for men. They do take it as a rejection. That said, I still want you to put your feelings first. Obviously, you can make him happy. You can give him a hand job. That's a great way to, take off the pressure without, having intercourse. He can go down on you. Another great thing. So, you guys can still get each other off and have that sexual intimacy. Um, and then when you feel ready, I would say if you don't feel ready in like another month or two max, that there might be another issue, you know, like you might not really like him, or something might be, subconsciously upsetting you about him, or there might be some other kind of issue that we could revisit if it keeps going on and on like that. But I'd say for the time being, cherish your feelings and just, see how it goes. And when you feel comfortable, you'll do it.
So the number in my head has been 90 days,
Okay, let's do that.
but I haven't conveyed that to him. But that's been the number in my head. And, I come and go with you, right, Chloe? And you've helped me
Right.
a lot. And, so I haven't told him that though.
I don't think you need to tell him that.
Hmm.
If it gets, you don't need to offer that information. If he's like, if it gets to that point where he's like, I mean, I don't know how long I can hold out, this is really hard for me, then you might want to say, okay, well, I'm thinking like 3 months or whatever. I'm thinking a couple more months, I'll probably feel okay. You can then like lay it out, but you're not obligated to tell him. And be real, a woman's prerogative to change her mind. If something happened before that and you wanted to, you don't want to have to be like, oh, I went back on my word, or whatever. You know what I'm
Oh no,
saying?
we've already covered the prerogative to change my mind. He's called me out on that.
Okay.
So yes, I claim that.
Okay. So yeah, just,
Yeah.
kind of set that in your mind, but also be open if the mood strikes you and you think it's the right
Yeah.
time. Since we've been working together, which I guess it's been like a little over a year, um, you've gotten a lot better at being aware of your feelings and thereby cherishing your feelings. So just stick with that for now and see
Yeah.
how that goes.
Yeah. And that feels really good to explain it from that perspective, and just like exactly what you're saying, the yin yang, and he steps in as the man and he's like, it's okay, honey, it's okay. I respect you and I'm not going anywhere or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
So it's
It's
exactly what
good
you're
for
saying. But
him.
okay, so
Look,
but what
men are
okay, go
always
ahead.
trying to get intercourse that they know they don't deserve. So don't, you're not obligated to give it to him.
Well, so what happens though when we do like an overnight, right? And we're like sleeping together, but not having intercourse.
Well, can
I
he
mean,
stand it or not? Some men can't stand that.
well, he's done okay with that.
Okay, then fine.
Yeah.
Then great. What's the
Okay.
problem?
Okay. Well, I mean, the first night he didn't do okay with it, but the second night he was much better with it.
Good. You're bringing out
So,
his stoicism.
okay.
It's a good
Okay.
thing.
So we're on the right track.
It
Sounds
sounds
like.
good so far. Yes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good. I'm happy.
All right.
I look forward to your updates. I'm happy to hear about this.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing your second module as soon as you open it up.
Yes.
So
Yes, I
keep me
will.
posted on that.
Okay, I will. Absolutely. I have a couple signups in there right now, and maybe after I do this module 1, I'll try to squeeze that in like right after if I can.
All righty. Cool. All
Okay.
right. I'll be looking for it.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. So yeah, you guys sign up if you want to do the module 1. Even if you've done it before, you can do it again. But then hopefully after that I'll be doing the module 2. I'm gonna wrap it up right now. Sorry if I didn't get to your questions tonight. But I'm usually here for about an hour. You can reach out to me during the week through my website or Instagram or TikTok. The group modules. Okay. So you can find those here. I'll just put that in now. You can find those though on my website, but here is the package information. Here's the link for that. It's also in my Instagram too, if you guys lose that. And you can, of course, yes, and on Meetup. Thank you, Joan. So yeah, and you can always reach out to me and if you have any questions about that. And if I don't hear from you, I will see you back here next week. Have a good night, everybody.